We've been in the weeds testing over 400 agents. I go to bed and I have agents doing work for me. I wake up in the morning, my agents have been already working all night. We have probably at least 50 agents working for us. I go into all these agents, testing them with very similar problems that I think there's 450 agents in total that we've tested so far. There's some actually cool ones off the shelf that I think people can use.
This is a podcast with Silverman, the founder of Agen.cy. We talk about which AI agents everyone should use, how companies are making millions with agents, and how you can go from beginner to expert. All right, so Adam, what are some of the most common use cases for AI agents you see?
I think there are some agents that are working really well across like every vertical. So sales, for example, there's some really incredible sales tools, some really incredible research tools out there.
Can you talk about the sales agents more? Because the closer it is to generating money, the more people are interested.
There are so many sales agents out there. There's Omni, AOMNI. It's incredible for doing like data enrichment, for prospecting. Then we have another one called God Mode. It is so incredible. I can literally go in. Have you tried God Mode?
No, but I have to.
Okay, you have to. I'll get you on the beta, but really awesome tool. I was actually using it yesterday. I can go in and say, find me every Fortune 500 CTO, find me their LinkedIn, their email, do full data enrichment on it, and you can build out full email sequences all within their app.
What is like one of the new tools that's your favorite?
I'm still like obsessed with Claude. I've been using it every day. I'm still very bullish on Lutra AI, so I'm using that for a lot of workflows. I go into all these agents, testing them with very similar problems that I have. And then I find certain agents are really, really incredible at certain tasks. I have these kind of like little agent teams on every platform that I use for different things.
Speaking of agents, you have a massive announcement to make, right?
Yeah, so some awesome news. We're excited to announce our fundraise of over $2.6 million under the name Agen.cy. So Agen.cy. We've been in the weeds testing over 400 agents, and we're really, really excited to announce this fundraise to really help companies make sure they can get their agents into production.
So if I understand correctly, AgentOps is going to be, one of the tools, and Agen.cy is going to be more like holding company.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So we have like a bunch of announcements coming out. So we still have integrations directly with Crew AI, with AutoGen. We still integrate with LangChain, Llama Index, Multion, all these players directly through AgentOps. But now we also have the ability to go out and build really, really complex agents that basically any Fortune 500 company can start using day zero.
Oh, so you want to like pivot more towards like pre-built agents?
Like there are going to be some agents off the shelf that we offer. Companies are coming to us with the craziest agent ideas possible, like truly like full end-to-end workflows that even a human team couldn't physically do. But if custom solutions are required, we're very happy to figure out how to basically leverage our expertise, our knowledge, our team of incredible engineers, and go and build out these amazing solutions for them.
How big is your team right now?
So it depends if you count all the agents.
Good answer.
Yeah, no, because honestly, I think we have probably, I'm thinking like at least 50 agents working for us. And like I go to bed and I have agents doing work for me. I wake up in the morning, my agents have been already working all night. There's some actually cool ones off the shelf that I think people can use.
Most of you are waiting. You're waiting for the right opportunity, the right business idea, the right time. But if you keep on waiting, you're gonna miss the AI revolution. Me and my team have spent hundreds of hours testing different ways to make money with AI. And I believe we found the best one. In the new society, we help you go from $0 to $1,000 a month with AI. I even give you the AI agent I've built so you can make money with it. All you have to do is follow our system for getting client. That's it. So if you have good work ethic and want to make money with AI, make sure to join. It's the first link in the description.
There's one called Mindy. What it does is it looks at your calendar and then it gives you a full like almost report on everybody you're meeting with. And before I go into a meeting, it gives me basically every data point I can ever imagine about a person. This is really helpful. Imagine if it took me, let's just say 30 minutes or my assistant 30 minutes to go research everybody within a day, and I have 8 meetings in a day.
Yeah.
That'd be 4 hours of their time. And now this is something that before I even wake up in the morning, the first message I look at in the morning is, here are all the meetings you have. Here's a quick fact on everybody. Here's their LinkedIn. Here's maybe the most recent news article they were mentioned in. Here's some data on them that can make the conversation exciting. And this is just like, this is off the shelf. Like this is not like crazy stuff by any means.
And the fact that this is only going to get better with better LLMs and like it's just like, it's crazy for people who are running lots of meetings. Like this is, and again, it's not like this is the boring part of the work, right? Like researching stuff, like looking. People always think that AI agents will take jobs, but it's more like the repetitive, boring tasks, so you can do more of the fun stuff, more of the creative stuff.
Oh, for sure. Like it sounds kind of crazy, but I think the president gets these types of briefings. And I almost have that every day. And it really, it's like, it's fundamentally leveling up how I am. I think like another, very easy example anybody can start using today is like one of these note taker apps that, exist in your calls. So like you use like Fathom and there's a whole bunch of different ones out there. It makes my follow up so much more meaningful. It makes me, really engaged in the meeting because I'm not worrying about taking notes. And I think this is the type of thing where it's so easy to set up. Like as long as your company allows you to use them and as long as like you have permission from people to record, it's such a massive win.
I cannot wait for the day when we have like a complete agent assistant that just, has access to your computer, knows your goals, knows what you should be working on, knows like your weaknesses, like where you tend to waste time, right? And just like holds you accountable, gives you real-time reminders, maybe with like connected to like an Apple Watch or some other wearable, or maybe like, AI glasses. I think this is coming relatively soon. And I think this is going to unlock so much like human potential, right? People always like don't like the word productivity, right? Because, people outside of business, they just feel like it's a corporate term, but just like human potential. Just imagine like how much stuff goes to waste purely because people waste time. Everybody can write a plan in the morning, but sticking to it is much harder, right? So I think these AI tools will just make that much more doable. And I mean, yeah, as somebody who likes to be productive instead of wasting time, I just cannot wait for that.
100%. Like the folks at Induced are doing this. I've seen like some incredible work on their side. There's a few other companies. I'm really bullish on the work of Open Interpreter. So there's a guy, Mike Bird, from there. He's doing amazing work and killing. They're all doing amazing, amazing work there. And truly, like I made a tweet about this a while ago, but what I want is basically everything I ever do in my life to be fully recorded. And I want to basically almost have like a coach saying, hey, Adam, don't worry. I'll take this off your plate. You don't need to send that email or that newsletter you were going to send out. Let me get the structure for you. You can just review it. And I think that the big aspect we're going to see with agents, and I think like, maybe going a year or two down the road, right? And this is what I'm bullish on, is that you're going to go from being reactive, where it's like a human
Yeah,
asking to do something, to proactive.
that's gonna be
And
huge.
that's going to be the biggest shift possible. So I think right now where everyone's battling, and like one of the reasons like we're really like seeing a lot of success with agent ops is because everyone's battling with reliability. So right now, like the fact is, even on the on the reactive front, it's still very important to make sure that this agent can do the task correctly.
But do you think it has to be like local or some like encrypted? Because if it's recording everything, there's like big security questions there.
Yeah, I think the folks at Limitless AI have been working on this quite a bit. If they're listening to this, like we're always happy to chat. I am very bullish on what their team's working on. But I think that there will be, maybe it's an Azure offering or maybe a GCP offering or an AWS offering where, okay, we now know that everything is being recorded. It's, by the user. At big companies, everything's already being recorded. If you work at
Yeah.
one of these big organizations, every keystroke you make, every website you visit, everything's already being recorded. So it's not that crazy. I think whether or not the organization wants to give the power back to the user to leverage that, that's another question.
And also just like in the physical world, like if you go into any big city, whether it's SF, New York, Dubai, there's cameras everywhere, right? So I think like privacy is becoming more of an illusion. Maybe like if you move into the forest or whatever. But I think what people really have trouble with is having the AI companies like access to the data, right? I mean, obviously, if you work for some company, it's kind of understood that the company, probably have a work laptop and you cannot access certain websites. But if you're an entrepreneur or like, in your spare time, a lot of people don't want OpenAI to have their data, right? Or Anthropic, whatever. They are really like afraid of not necessarily like somebody knowing what they're doing, but having that trained on in the future, and they just want to like that assurance. I mean, that's why the interest in local agent is so big. Even though like most of the times it's just like the difference is so like the locally run stuff is just so bad, and especially most people don't have like the top of the line MacBooks, so they can only run like 8 billion models, and the difference between 8 billion models or like Claude 3.5 Sonnet or GPT-4o is just massive, right? So it doesn't even make sense logically to want that, but still the demand is huge because of people want that feeling that OpenAI or whatever isn't taking their data.
For sure. And like so AgentOps just became HIPAA compliant. And so now we're talking to like a lot of these healthcare companies. And what we're realizing is there are certain industries that I think will be reliant on local models. It's a lot easier to get a CTO and a CIO to buy into, let's run this locally, than even if every vendor along the entire spectrum is HIPAA compliant and everything like that, it could still be like, they don't want these infractions, to say the least. They do not want to have any issues. They don't want to like, have any risk. But I still think there's actually opportunity for like the most cutting edge companies in the world to leverage the best models and still probably remain competitive in the long run. So we'll kind of see how this plays over the next 6 months, and we're gonna do another episode. I know eventually and talk about okay, like local models have now far surpassed like all like closed source models, but we'll see ultimately what ends up happening.
Oh, you also predicted one of my questions on my list. So, we've seen a massive rise of open source, especially in the last like 2 to 3 months. AI images have caught up and maybe even surpassed closed models, right? Open source has gotten a massive win with Llama 3.1. 405 billion is on par with the top closed models. Like, do you think there is going to be a day where the best model is just completely open source?
I think that's the like dream of Meta, and I think Mistral and a few of these other companies are really trying to make that happen. I think that it's possible. I think that we're also going to see a nexus point where it's like a race down to the bottom in terms of cost. So I think like we're seeing that right now. I think
Yeah,
that there's going to be a certain level where these models are so good that we don't need really much more incremental improvements. So we'll see over the coming months. I think that you will have a world where like local models are good enough. I don't know if they're going to be the best quite yet. But one thing I am extremely bullish on, and we might have chat about it previously, online or offline, can't remember, but I'm very bullish on small models. Like
yeah,
extremely, I think like the future is in very small, like action models. Even when you think about an agent, you don't need 400 billion parameters to go and conduct some research on the web and scrape some data. I think one of the big things that's going to happen is you're going to start seeing a lot of fine tuning, and that's one thing we've been working on in Agent Ops is like fine tuning on the outputs, building much smaller models, or fine tuning on the outputs of basically cutting edge models and fine tuning open source models. This is, I think, going to be a big paradigm shift because you're going to have cheaper cost. You might be able to do it locally. There's going to be, I think, a lot of work done in this space over the next year because right now we're just saying, they're large language models. Let's give them as many parameters as possible. Let's try and like basically, put every like, increase context window as much as possible. I think this is great on very generalized use cases, but from everything we're seeing with like large corporations and enterprises, the reality that's I think what's going to be most beneficial is actually could we just get very niche tasks done extremely reliably. We don't need to know all about ancient Rome to conduct analysis on financial documents.
yeah. And I think for those who are watching who are like kind of thinking of opportunities, essentially every company is going to need that, right? Whether it is language model fine tuned or image model fine tuned, they're going to need something specifically made for them, and most companies don't know how to do it. So if you learn the skill and if you have a bit of inventiveness, entrepreneurship, this is a pretty good opportunity in the next, I think, year or so.
For sure. Like I think you need I like love telling people this, but like be the one at your company who brings up this technology. Be the one who people are like asking questions about. I have one guy, he messages me, it's hilarious. I do these threads like almost every week about like what's the latest and greatest in AI agents. And I post them on Twitter or and LinkedIn as well. And he takes these threads and then goes and makes a PowerPoint deck and presents it to his management team every week now, saying, "Hey, here's the cutting." And it's so funny to me. Like literally, like he's taken my work. I'm so happy for it. It's the best thing ever. I'm so happy you reached out, by the way. And he's presenting this to his team now. And it's one of these aspects I look at. I'm like, this is crazy. Like he's now becoming like an AI leader at his company by literally going onto Twitter and looking at my thread, making a small deck about it. And now he is, by far like the AI like agent guy in his company that, the C-suite is coming to him and asking him questions. So it's that simple. Like it doesn't even be like it's not rocket science by any means.
It's a complete hack. I mean, just from my experience, right? The fact that I'm in AI, like I'm getting access to people who are far ahead of me in business and in life because they're interested in AI, right? Everybody wants to know at least a bit how it's going to impact their business, how they can leverage it. And being in the right field, I mean, I don't think there's a better field, better interested in AI, obviously. But, just being in AI brings so many opportunities. So I think everybody watching, while you might don't want to have ambitions to be like a public figure, you should still become an AI guy in your social circle because that's going to unlock so many doors that you can't even predict.
If you're watching this video, you're already doing like the right step. That's the first thing. It's like you're already like light years ahead than a lot of people I know. And I think that the reality is it's just like it's not hard. Like it's just like listen to a few, podcasts, listen to
Yeah,
some videos, form your own opinion. I think like understand what tools are out there, test the tools. Like to me, if I was and this might be a hot take, but it's okay. It's like if I was thinking about going and doing like a master's in engineering, or if I was gonna go do like some type of IT related role, I would just go on YouTube for 3 months, lock myself in a room, watch every video on like AI possible, and I'm almost for certain you will come out here light years ahead than going and doing like an IT certificate or a master's. Like master in engineering might be a bit different, but I am saying like this is such a massive win. Like it's just like there's so much content out there, there's so much knowledge out there. Like I give away like 99% of everything I know for free, and like I'm just like I see something cool, I'll repost it, I'll share it. I'm happy to kind of consolidate it so it's easy for people to understand. But the biggest factor is like there's so much out there, and even like going and joining school communities and finding like people who are intelligent and are thinking about it in the same way, or even like creating group chats with on the cost side, it's not very high to make these like kind of think tanks for yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, now is the time, really. In the future, when like your Uber driver is talking about it and everybody knows about it, it's gonna be too late. Like now, everybody watching this really has the opportunity to be kind of that AI thought leader. Whether it's in their region, in their company, doesn't matter to what scale, but why not?
For anybody who's like looking to learn more about like AI and AI agents and everything like that, if you go to Agen.cy, our new website, so Agency, you will go and click on like there's a tab called Agents. You will find a list of like 400, I think there's 450 agents in total that we've tested so far, and it's totally free. I highly recommend checking it out. It's like the easiest place. Maybe we can link it in, maybe we'll link in the show notes as well. But this is like, it's such low hanging fruit for people. It's like, go explore it. Like, instead of like going, one day if it's raining outside or something like that, just like go, like take that list and just start clicking on a bunch of the links and start looking at, what's working, what's not, what you think is cool. Another thing I love to do is go make an email account that is just for like AI tools and go and subscribe for all these players. And what you'll get is you like anytime you want a good update on everything that's going on, just go and scroll through that inbox. I don't think you have to be an expert. You don't need to be an engineer. You don't need to have spent like 10 years in IT. All you have to do is just kind of lean in a bit, test the stuff out, and kind of see what works for you.
Man, it's such a good advice. This I love like these practical tips, that just like have instant effect. How are you yourself learning about AI?
Like we love Twitter. Like I honestly, my co-founder Alex and I, like we really just see it as like kind of for whatever reason in the AI space, it's where we're seeing the latest and greatest news.
Yeah.
I also do a lot of social listening. So I have agents that are out there on the internet collecting data and then giving me like report every day on like what's going on, what companies are getting funded. And if anybody's interested, like maybe I'll be able to like kind of share this agent with you.
Yeah, that would be a good video actually.
Yeah, we can do we'll chat about that offline. But
Okay.
I think from my perspective, it's really, really interesting that leverage like the tools to figure out the latest and greatest, but also you got to just be in the right circles. So following certain people will basically guarantee you're getting the latest and greatest news. But at the end of the day, there's certain people who are like, like yourself. We're trying to do a lot of like kind of this thought leadership as well. And it's just a matter of kind of seeing everything, making it really easy for people to understand. If you're not like a big Twitter user, you don't need to like post. I think that's one thing a lot of people are scared of doing. Like you don't need to actively be posting. All you have to do is just create your own, account with whatever name on it, follow a couple of the top people, and from there your feed will start getting populated with all the right content.
Maybe it is the move to create a separate account because it is so easy to waste time on Twitter because curating your feed is so hard. Like constantly muting people, like muting words. It shouldn't be that hard, but everybody who kind of is more active deals with this problem of like, I want interesting AI stuff only, right? I mean, I would pay for that if I could just do that manually instead of like having to update my muted word list constantly. But still, like most of the tweets I see are not like productive, interesting AI stuff. I mean, maybe you can give me some tips because,
So you can create lists, which is not a bad thing. But from my perspective, I think the best thing is just following the right people and then like looking through the following, like the For You tab, or I don't know exactly what it's called on Twitter, but like that is
yeah.
great. I think that's like really great to find content. But I think like following the right people is the most critical piece. And that's kind of what we recommend. It's just like you can really. And you also, the one thing is you don't want to be an echo chamber. You don't want to only listen to it. But
Yeah,
that's
of
why I think it's
course.
good to have kind of separate Twitter accounts that are like, okay, here's my AI Twitter account. And then here, when I want to have like worldly political views and understand everything else that's going on in society, here's my other account. But I think like it is good to kind of have that targeted, here like the 100 people I follow that I trust that are posting great content. And it doesn't take a long time. You just need to go into these communities for a few minutes every day. But as long as you're doing that repetition, you're going to learn stuff, guaranteed.
For some people, it's not immediately obvious the return on that learning, but just to give people something more tangible, every company will want to keep those who are on the top, right? Like on the top of new things, new stuff, cutting edge. as you said, like the guy who's making presentation for his management team, the chances of him getting fired are very low, right? Because like he's teaching others and he's benefiting the company more than he's being paid for, which is always a good strategy. But especially with like new technologies that AI, if the company is going to make layoffs, whatever, you're probably going to be the last person on the list because, you're the AI guy. Like, they don't want to lose you. Like, you always bring the good stuff. So, everybody who's watching this who has a job, if you learn AI and if you, teach your bosses, and the higher up you go, the better, obviously, like, you future-proof yourself, and the chances of you keeping that job or maybe even getting promoted are much higher.
For sure. So I highly recommend like testing things out, seeing oh, this is my one recommendation. Like I think you like these like kind of actionable bits.
Yeah.
I have right here is like my notebook, and basically every day as I'm going through my work day, I literally just write down things that I think can be automated. Okay, so I have like literally like pages of like, hey, I did this workflow. I think I can automate this. What I do is I use this as now like a brain for me to think about when I'm looking at different tools, can I use that tool to automate this process? And it's such an easy thing for anyone to do. It doesn't cost anything, and I really recommend like people like leaning in a bit there because it will like at least now you have a reference point when you're looking at tools and looking at the latest and greatest stuff of what's possible and what you actually can start kind of automating.
Okay, so on that note, like, what would you say are some of the like most obvious, like painfully obvious things you see other people do that could be like automated so easily?
Research, I think, is the number one. Like I've friends and I love them. They're my good friends if you're watching this, but like I have friends who are in like financial research and equity research. And I think it's great. It's a really, really cool job. But it's one of these things that is 100% becoming automated. It's, a computer or an agent or whatever you want to call it, a piece of software is going to be able to research more than you can synthesize the information better. Now with it referencing, so like a lot of the work over the past couple of months has been like, how do we actually source where this data is coming from accurately? The second you hit off all these criteria of like, being accurate, being fast, being able to consume more data, you can't even compete in that space. Same thing with like the agent I was talking about for researching people I'm meeting with. You are setting yourself back by not leaning in and using this technology. And it's like it's so obvious to me that like these systems are better than it's not even like human can't do these jobs. It's just like there's no reason a human should be. So if
Yeah.
my assistant had to spend 4 hours a day working on this, that's 4 hours she wouldn't be able to be helping with a bunch of other things that she has on her agenda. So I'm very big on like figure it out. I think like try and figure out what aspects are the most automatable in your life, and then kind of work backwards from there.
When it goes into the digital realm, people have these weird feelings, right? But you can take examples with animals. Like, horses are much better at certain things than people. Or there's like some breed of pigs that can smell like some specific potatoes. Yeah, 10 feet underground. And like, no sane person would try to compete with those pigs. But for some reason, when it's like an AI agent, it's not like, whoa, 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 no. Like, that's my identity. Like, I was doing that task. Like,
I think you might just give me a tweet for today. I like that. I never really thought about it from like the animal perspective, but you're 100% right. Humans should be focused on human tasks. Like one of the things I say, it's like right on my LinkedIn, and it's like, don't worry, your job is safe. Because the reality is, it's like there are inherently human parts of every role. And I think the biggest thing, if you're testing this technology is lean in and try and figure out which parts of these tasks are the most human. And that's the biggest win you could be making.
This is something that I think most people in the AI space probably don't agree upon. At least I don't see it being talked about. But my theory is that at least in the next 5 to 10 years, before some major improvements to the LLM architecture are made, the by far winner combo is gonna be like a human does the creative and like directional stuff, while LLMs do the repetitive and LLM stuff, good task. But right now people always think like, okay, there's like two extremes, right? LLMs have stopped, they're not going to improve, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, AGI, ASI, super intelligence is coming in 6 months, right? Like we all saw these videos at the start of the year, and now it's like 6 months later, and like, where is the AGI, where's the ASI, right? So I think the actual reality for the next 5 years is going to be that humans do the things that LLMs cannot do, like reasoning, like creativity, the stuff that LLMs suck at, and then just LLMs do everything else. And people who embrace this new way of working will just crush everybody else.
I couldn't agree more. There's one company that we're good friends with, so Payman. I don't know if you've seen them. You should get Tylen from Payman. He's awesome. He's built like an agent that can pay humans to do tasks that the agent can't complete. So this is like happening. Like
That's crazy.
like think about let's give an example of like writing a blog post or liking a tweet or retweeting something. You can literally, the agent could say, hey, we want to create marketing buzz for this new blog post. And it will go and say, for every human that likes it, we'll pay them 50 cents. For every person who retweets it, we'll pay them $1. And it will verify that the human's done it. It'll go through the whole loop, and then it will go back and pay the human. And this is the type of thing where like it's happening. Like this is like obviously they're on the cutting edge. I think it's an awesome company. We're very bullish on them and working on some really cool stuff together. But it's like this is going to happen inherently. Like these agents they have limitations. Like maybe I don't know. You could talk to other people who might say they're are infinite and can do anything, but we don't have AGI yet. So right now, like there are limitations with these things. I think it's really really cool to see that people are thinking about, okay, how do we actually leverage, like keep humans in the loop in a necessary way? Like I think that's a huge, huge, huge win.
Yeah, and I think once the LLMs actually learn, what LLMs are good at, and I mean, maybe you can do it with a system prompt, but like basically we need the agents to have like a deep understanding of these are the type of tasks agents are great at. Don't bother a human. These are the tasks that agents suck at. Ping the human, as you said, proactively, and like I'm stuck here. Can you help me out? And then the human like unstuck the agent. And I mean, it will really be what you just said, right? All of us, even the people who don't have companies, will be basically CEOs or managers of large teams of agents. And, you will just be overseeing different operations. And I think that's like really empowering vision.
David, I'll send you a bunch of links to kind of put down below so we can get everybody up to speed as quickly as possible. And besides that, yeah, it's really, really great getting to chat.
Don't let the AI revolution happen without you. If you join the new society in the next 48 hours, you'll get a personalized plan to start your own AI business. And you can do this even if you are a complete beginner, because we help you every step of the way. But don't take my word for it. Just look at all these reviews from our members. So click the link below and join the new society.